Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. You are about to join a frequency that will open your mind, expand your heart, and activate your spirit. Thank you for joining Kelly Meehan, Spirit Baby Medium and Master Energy Therapist. Kelly believes in the power of the Spirit Baby. She speaks with babies in spirit before life, in the womb, and after life. She supports, teaches, and guides others to tune into the intuitive and mystical parts of life for greater wisdom. Join her in meeting your soul baby and build your connection and relationship with deep love and trust. Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio with your host, Spirit Baby Medium, Kelly.
Welcome to episode 116, July 2nd, 2021. The frequencies of positive cell-changing nutrients for whole body and spiritual living. What ways can you accelerate your whole healing self with infertility into pregnancy? Are you supporting your body healing with toxic-free living? How can you create a womb-sustainable space for baby being? What ways can you start today? I'm starting to smile here. Nobody can see my smile, but I'm so excited. I have a guest here, Stephanie Dawn. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
And so Stephanie here, I wrote here, she's a powerhouse of a woman, a leader in so many different areas. And I always like to begin how do I meet people and connect? And oh my gosh, I want to say it could have been 10 years, maybe a little short of 10 years, where she lived in California and was really the only person that was talking about spiritual pregnancy. I mean, this was just 10 years ago. It was she was really, I was looking around and then I got connected with her in the birth professional field, and I actually did a group with her. Oh my gosh, I don't even remember the details of that, but it was empowering birth workers to be abundant and do the passionate work. But Stephanie is come into so many different layers of who she is and how she really just supports consciousness in so many ways, from body health to birth to being such a powerful advocate. And so let me read here. Stephanie Dawn, I love this, is a radiant living priestess supporting the spiritual, emotional, physical, and financial transformation of healthy women living in a toxic world. She is healing breast cancer naturally, is the mother of 2 teenage boys, and is the founder of Sacred Birth Work, a teaching that supports expectant parents to create a sacred walk towards parenthood, beginning prenatally. Oh, and that's it. Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie, for being here. Did I do justice for our meeting? I don't remember the details, but.
Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. It's such an honor, and it's been so magnificent watching you grow this past decade, however long it's been, and just seeing you come into your own and the way that you're showing up to serve has just been, I just feel like this mother, the pride is just go, Kelly, go. Yeah.
I know. Because we talked about, I remember because we stayed in touch here and there and lost some energy in between, some time. And it's interesting, where my work has come and developed into. And I love this kind of, what you bring forward now. I feel like, gosh, it's so important. Oh my gosh,
Yeah. Well, we are living in a really toxic world, as you know, Kelly, and I don't think I was quite as aware as I am now with the degree to which we're living in a toxic world, and the importance of getting the toxins out daily. So, especially if you're considering, pregnancy. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard thing I hear with I know a lot of people, I'm doing my nutrition, but nobody really goes deeper. I feel like we've had these conversations is really what, a fertility journey where, let's say somebody's really struggling, right? I mean, this is my typical client is the struggle, but also multiple miscarriage is very common. And so I'd love to hear, women are tuning in, connecting in this space, how do I live toxic free? What does that even mean? Because we always feel the air is toxic and the buildings or our livers, or what can you say about that? What could give something to people to go, I'm on a fertility journey, and have I looked at my toxicities? What does that mean?
Well, so I wish, Kelly, that 30 years ago, I'm 56. So I wish when I first moved to California, I'm originally from Canada, Vancouver, British Columbia, I wish that I tuned into the world of naturopathy 30 years ago. I wish that I had someone to be checking my hormones and checking my adrenals and checking my blood, my saliva, my urine, etc., to really be looking at my health in a more, let's just say, microscopic way, because that wasn't happening when I first moved here. I'd moved from, the medicine socialized up in Canada, and I was paying $3 a month for my medical insurance, Kelly, when I first moved here to the U.S. 30 plus years ago. And so I went alternative, like full on alternative. And that's a bit of a longer story. I have a healthy distrust of allopathy, and so based on my own medical history. And so but I wasn't employing a naturopath. And I wish, so if anyone is listening and you are on a fertility journey and you want to understand what's going on with your body, go and find a naturopath that you vibe with, that you resonate with, and start getting tested. And they can see what's going on. They can see if you've got heavy metals in your body. They can see if you've got mold in your body. They can see if you have fungal or bacterial stuff going on that you need to clear. And they will then help you clear it with supplements and with diet. So I didn't understand why that was needed, or how to, they even will, they'll check your hormones even, right? So all that stuff in terms of our health is so important. And I just also want to share with your listeners that 2 years ago, I received a breast cancer diagnosis, and that's when everything amplified for me. I'd been on the superfoods cleansing, detoxing journey for 3 years prior, but the breast cancer diagnosis really elevated everything for me. And I knew that I didn't want to go the traditional chemotherapy, radiation, surgery route. That was not the route for me. And so consequently, I found practitioners that believed as I did that I could heal my body naturally. And so that's what I've done. And I just can't say enough about the realm of naturopathy and chiropractic, homeopathy, whatever you're guided to do that.
I was taking these notes here because there's a few things that you said that really just I love that because it just gives to people. And again, some people don't even think about that. And I know, I've been on a healing journey for a very long time, and I've really gotten into, actually because of you, was reaching out with your superfoods and all, and I was like, oh, and that was really my stepping stone. And it was really scary. It's really scary to then really restructure what's physically going in your body. And I didn't realize how scary that could be. But there was I think the first 30 days at the end, I was screaming, my family's looking what is happening to her? And I got to tell you something really profound. It just popped in my head too. When I was screaming, I'll never forget it, because then my 10-year-old was screaming. And then I remember he went outside, and this has never happened in 10 years. He came to the door. He found a dead baby shrew. Do you know what a shrew is?
Yeah.
A crazy woman. I was like, what is this? He's literally bringing me a physical manifestation of where and which shows how powerful our energy can really be. And so when you talk about I almost feel like this is probably maybe almost oh gosh, I'm probably so toxic, but maybe I won't go there. Right? Do people say that? Where they're I want to know, but I don't want to know.
Right. Yeah. I hear that. And I was there. That's why I think I was able to help you and all the other women that I help, because I was there. I did not, when I had a girlfriend that was running cleanses quarterly, and I was like, oh, get that away from me.
Yeah.
I love there's no way I am doing a cleanse. Just the word itself freaks me out, right? And so
there.
I was in serious, I had serious food addictions going on, serious food addictions. And it took me time. Yeah. And then, it all ramped up again with the cancer diagnosis. I refined everything even further. So, ultimately, Kelly, for me, and this is not going to be a surprise to you, how we nourish ourselves with food, like it all comes back to self-love. It all comes back to self-love. How we are or are not nourishing ourselves with food, with the people in our life, with the relationships that we're in, with the work that we're doing. Like, is it blessing us or is it not blessing us? And so that has been my walk, like from the moment that we met in regards to food. Like, you know, with my sacred birth work, it was always about eating the rainbow. It was always about eating organic food. But what I didn't understand was how important it is to be eating dense, potent superfood and food, you know, organic food every single day. That's what I didn't understand. Wow. And so what's important for people who are listening is that, I don't know, does this go out globally? It does, right? You're recording your podcast? Yeah. So here in the United States, practitioners, doctors, midwives, there's very little focus on nutrition. Very, very minuscule focus on nutrition, right? They're like, take your folic acid, take your prenatal vitamins, and that's all they tell you. And that is not sufficient for women who are facing fertility issues. It's not sufficient for, you know, just prenatal if they're already pregnant. And it's certainly not sufficient for what is going on in the postpartum term. So.
Yeah, no, this is really good. This what you're sharing, and even just, you know, swinging back a little bit to your own experience. Like you're told you have, you know, it's how I watched your whole journey. I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, like, you know, the natural kind of route and all these just epiphanies coming through and all these you know, going through like just changing on so many physical levels. And I remember when I did reach out to you, I was in chronic inflammation, and it literally felt like I'm just going to live there forever. Like there's no hope. There's nothing. Yep. And then after I did that uprooting, and then I went into medical medium, and I'm so into medical medium right now, Anthony Williams. And then just going, oh, like this, like, but also going into, we've talked about the water fasting and like, oh, don't go there, it's dangerous. And then all of a sudden how transformative it was and how intuitive it was. And I'm noticing, gosh, the more you clean out all that gunk, wow, you can hear very clearly. You can hear, you know, not just your own energy, but like you really hear the world in a different way. And so I'm like excited by it, but man, that initiation in the beginning is like, what is happening? And then at the same time, there's this, you know, some people would even say it's epidemic that why is there so much fertility issues, and not just for the eggs and the women, but for the sperm quality and the men. It's like, and I do work with people internationally, so I hear, you know, in Australia and England, you know, what you know, those are major areas where it's like, there's so many weird, like, not weird, but like weird to me, like fertility rules. Like even if you're going through intervention, it's just like to me it feels like almost a disempowerment that happens in these different, like, it's like you're struggling to conceive, but it's very mechanical, right? Unless like, and I love that you said to the audience here is that, hey, where's your natural path? Where's your, you know, who you're working with? What is that, you know, what is that looking like? And how do you then, you know,
I honestly feel like allopathy is failing us. They've been trying to sell, you know, allopathy to us for over 100 years now, and it's failing us in the cancer world. We have, as you well know, you're tuned into the medical medium, all these mysterious diseases that doctors are not helping patients with. And you know, honestly, Kelly, I don't even know if they want to help, because if they did, they wouldn't have customers. So there's, you know, it's.
But then I wonder, do you think that maybe they just don't know? Like they actually are really ignorant, or is it really come down to?
They are ignorant. Okay. So here's something that I want your listeners to research.
Yeah.
Read the Flexner Report of 1910. Okay, the Flexner brothers were hired by the Rockefellers and their buddies to travel across the United States and to discount and really vilify, ultimately, the schools of homeopathy, the schools of chiropractic, the schools of naturopathy, osteopathy, all of that, and to come back and provide information that would allow them to shut them down. The American Medical Association was formed by Rockefeller and by all these money cronies who wanted to create their own school with their own medicine. It did not have herbs involved. It didn't have any of this stuff been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years. Okay, so their doctors were not taught any of this stuff. And so you're absolutely right to say they don't know. And so we consequently have to inform ourselves and forge our own path, which is so sad. I mean, Kelly, with my journey of the cancer, well, I've done a lot of research, as you know, right?
Yeah,
and
I know.
I watched this amazing documentary where Ty and Charlene Bollinger went to Asia and they interviewed Asian doctors, like seven countries and 7 days in Asia. And there's one doctor, I think he was in Sri Lanka, and he calls what's going on in the United States medical terrorism. And I was just like, oh my God, like my jaw dropped, right? Because that's quite the allegation. And then I heard him unpack it, and he goes, you have to pay a lot of money for insurance. You have to pay a lot of money for a specialist. And then you have to pay a lot of money for the medicine. And I had to agree. It is medical terrorism. It strikes, girl, look at the cancer diagnosis and how people fear that here in this country, right? And what it did to me, too. If for a split second, I was like, wait, I don't have to fear anything. Yeah. Like, God's got me, Like, I've been spending years mitigating fear for my clients and for myself. And I was like, wait a minute, the cancer is no different. And so I started working with my own consciousness to sort of go, okay, I'm not afraid here. My body's a miracle. And just got into that whole frequency.
Wow.
But for people who have deferred their inner authority to an outer authority, they are in fear. And they think that somebody knows better than them to tell them what they need to do. And that's just not my journey at all, as you know. And and I like it. And then I work with women now. I didn't think I'd ever be coaching again after the cancer diagnosis, but now I work with women to do just that in terms of their health, to defer to their own inner authority, to support them in making those loving choices every single day, whether we're talking about food or the full spectrum of living, body, mind, spirit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's so much, and we know in this year, I laugh because it's such a big loaded energy. It's like, how are we coming back to ourselves and really from disembodiment to embodiment? And of course, there's always going to be different layers of that and levels of that. Something you said here, which it's something you said the other day. I saw on your Facebook Live, and I was like, ooh, I haven't really heard this word before, was healthy distrust. It sounds kind, but I have a very huge healthy distrust of just what has been happening in my world from being that person that was misdiagnosed a lot and over-medicated as a teenager and IV'd and all that stuff. And I still wasn't better. I was still sick, probably sicker. And so I do have this passion, and it's quite interesting because I remember in my 20s when I had to leave the chaos of my family, come out west from New Jersey, and I fell in love with Carolyn Mace, who is world-renowned medical intuitive, who invented the term medical intuitive. And I thought, wow, look what she can do, and that's incredible and amazing. And then I fast forward, and I'm like, I'm no Carolyn Mace by far, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I was like, why was I so in love with her? I could hear the pulse and energy of people in really deep ways. And I was like, let me start talking about that with people. And then they're like, yes, everything you're saying. And I'm like, okay, I do see things and I know. And I do see a lot of distrust with the body. Like it's this weird, awkward, and I do feel like that. And it's interesting because you came from birth. I do feel like that's foundational. It's like, how were we cared by our grown-ups, whether they were there or not, is a really big part of that as well. And what becomes us, and then we're like trying to cure and heal. And then on top of that, we have earth toxicities and environment and emotional. It's like, wow, that's a lot to take in. And so that I've never heard that term before, the healthy distrust, but also And I feel like maybe most of us have that, like suspicion. But I know there's a lot of synchronicity between what we share, because I am very much about embodiment, working with the nervous system, listening to intuition and fertility and pregnancy. And, even the medical industry and the fertility can be quite grotesque and disgusting, and not just in America, but in other countries, the way that women are taken advantage of because they so desire so deeply their child. And I do work a lot with IVF. I've learned a lot about IVF. I mean, I feel like, whoa, I've learned so much in the many years and thousands of people that I've worked with. And I'm going, what are these women, especially women, what are they needing? And how can I bring them into these interventions with embodiment? And I notice, and I know people have heard this and those tuning in, is the women that do IVF with more of an intuitive connection, they have their children. But if they're just like, here, doctor, do what you want with me, 10 IVF cycles later, wow. I don't know how someone can get to that level. And I'm not judging it because I have worked with somebody that has. But it's like, oh, my goodness. And I say, if you come to me at that level, like that, there's a lot of, deep work to do around that. And so it's very hard if someone just kind of pops in and out. But it's like you can do intervention, you can do these things, but in a way that's highly intuitive. And we don't push that, right? That's the piece. It's like, it's okay not to know every single thing about your body, but, what would it take to just to begin to bring in just small ways, like the food, like the cleansing. Metals are probably major, right? It's a major distraction to the brain, to functioning, to being tired.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the medical medium goes deep into this, and his protocols have helped me greatly, Kelly, with detoxing my body of heavy metals, mercury and aluminum predominantly. And I don't have proof of this, but I truly believe that just because of what I've experienced in my own body and what I know those women who have grown up in Australia, the UK, Canada, the US, the culture that we live in, there's a lot of heavy metal toxicity from cooking with aluminum foil, eating from tin cans, cooking on, pots and pans that are unregulated where metals are leaching into the food. You do it for decades, right? And don't think twice about it. So the education for me has been deep in terms of the metals. And so I have helped many women to detox metals from their body. And lo and behold, what happens? But, conception happens. So I think that, we have to be looking at this when we're talking about infertility. We have to be looking at, because there's many reasons why a woman could be infertile. And we got to look at all the different aspects of being that, from the stress in their life to their relationship to their diet to, heavy metal toxicity, glyphosate toxicity, which is an herbicide. I know that because we've talked about that. One of the most widely used herbicides in the world is glyphosate. And so I also help women to detox that out of their body. So it's we have to look at the full spectrum of being. And then one of the things that I love that Dr. Christiane Northrup speaks of in her book, Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom, is the question, why do you not want to be pregnant, be a mother? And that's a very difficult question to ask, but I love that, Dr. Northrup, she went there in her book around fertility, and I was like, wow, that's a hard question to ask, but a really vital question to ask. Like, do you want it because others want it for you? Do you want it because your girlfriends are doing it? Do you want it because you feel that you should? Like, I feel like we really, especially with what's going on now with COVID-19, globally, and, do we really want to be bringing a soul onto the planet? Do we really, really, really want to be doing that? I think unless we have a wholehearted yes, full body, embodied yes, we might just want to take another look at it. So the inquiry is what matters to me, and then finding the answers through the inquiry. But we must have the inquiry.
I like that, the way you say it, the inquiry, yeah. And it's kind of like I keep telling, me and my friends were talking, like, we got to question things. But I like the inquiry, yeah. I like that, just kind of, yeah. And even something you said earlier, kind of just, there's so much we could spin and go into, but I love the self-love piece. It's like the self-love of, because I know in my world, in your world, we've both got intuitive hits that, oh my gosh, we have to totally up-level and clean out our cells, clean out our energy fields, because our energy fields are reflective of our physical density and our mass, right? And so I was really like feeling that too. And I never thought I would ever do that. Like I felt like I was eating pretty clean and well, but I was limping. I was telling you that I was limping. I was like, what is wrong with my body? The inflammation got to that extent. And then now I'm like, I feel like I'm free in so many levels and feeling that, that source connection, that internal source connection that literally elates and brings joy and just creativity and passion and potential is just off the charts. And so I know you're like, but it's interesting that the food was really the push, and the herbs. Oh my gosh, herbs. I got to do an episode on herbs because I love herbs. They are so powerful. Oh
they
my
are.
gosh. Like, wow. And they're just right in your yard. What? Maybe you'll have to connect me with some herbalists to put on the podcast, because I'd love to hear that, how that can even support people, in that level in this journey, clearing out house to hold babies.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There are herbs in one of the some of the protocols that you've been taking to detox your body. Yeah. But yeah, they're powerful. Herbs are very powerful. So we're reclaiming. We're in a reclamation right now. We're reclaiming art.
Oh, I like that, reclamation. Yeah.
We are. We're in it. We're deep in it right now. We're reclaiming things that have been denigrated and that we've doubted. And, it's not just ways of healing and working with, the earth to help us, the flora and the fauna to help us heal, but it's also we're in a reclamation too around the feminine. And we're reclaiming who we are as women and the divine feminine, and men are too. Men have to reclaim their feminine too, because it has also been denigrated and doubted and made wrong. And so that's very exciting to me, that conversation, because we women, we've doubted ourselves for way too long. And so when you talk about embodiment, embodiment, what comes before embodiment is empowerment. And how do we empower one another? By doing what you and I are doing right now, by talking, by showing up, by helping each other, by being in service to each other, by sharing. I share my medicine with you. You share your medicine with me, Kelly. Like, that's how we do it, right? Birthing our sacred medicine into the world. Like, that is how we support one another and feel our power. And when we feel our power, I think embodiment can more fully come through. And so what I love about your journey is that you already were functioning as a very empowered woman, but with what you've learned now around how you've been nourishing yourself, it's just taken your power to a whole new level in terms of the light that you're able to carry and transmit, in my opinion. Would you agree?
Oh my gosh, I literally just feel like, wow, that's just, you said it so perfectly, because that's really what was happening for me in my world. And I was like, whoa, now I just feel, I love how you just said that. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I'm excited to go, what's next to come? Me and my friend, we do a lot of, we feel like this cleansing lifestyle, we call it cleansing, but it's just a lifestyle. It's not like I have to go, and do something all the time. I actually really love doing my celery juice. I love eating fruits and vegetables. Like, I'm excited by it. And when I see those foods that I know aren't like healthy for me, I actually don't care to eat them. That's where I get to be at, right?
Well, let's unpack that for a little bit, because it's this is the evolution of what's going on with what your cells are asking you to nourish them with. Okay, so when you change your diet, your body starts vibrating at a different frequency, and it no longer craves the things that used to take you down. You up level, we talk about, well, what about cheating? I'm like, well, actually, I don't crave those things that I used to, crave. I don't want the sugary things anymore. So what I snack on, what I treat myself with is way up leveled, Kelly. Would you agree?
Yeah, let's talk about that, because you know what I go to? If I feel like I need sweet and satiation, I eat a date with cinnamon and dipped in coconut cream. I mean, luxurious. Luxurious.
Yeah. It's like, it's so this is what happened for me too. It's like my self, or giving myself those treats. Like, I make incredible coconut, cacao, organic Montmorency cherry, dried cherry bars that with dried coconut.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, like it's completely raw, and it's delicious. I should send you the recipe actually, but like
yes.
that's my dessert. A tiny little chunk of that, and I'm good for those nights that I would like, which is not very often actually anymore. Like, I don't feel like, I can remember nights sitting in front of the television eating, cookie after cookie after cookie, like crappy cookies, right? And I'm not that more, or eating ice cream. I don't do cow dairy anymore at all. And that's my own personal choice. I don't want to make anyone wrong that does, but I do plant-based dairies now, cashew, coconut, oat milk, etc., yogurt, cream cheese, even plant-based cream cheeses, plant-based butters. I just do, I do how I do my pantry, how I do my kitchen. Like, it's just really, really changed a lot. And so, dates have become one of those things. Dates and sliced apples, just making different choices that are more healthful and really are quite delicious. So,
you had this recipe. You had this recipe one time with steel oats or something, and I made those balls. I was like, it's like the same thing, but the cherry thing sounds amazing.
Yeah. I made some of those. I took them to South Dakota because, I just went to South Dakota to that conference. And I made these superfood balls, and they were so delicious. They kept me going all weekend.
Wow.
With a little snack.
Yeah.
I
love that. Yeah, I do feel like, that healthy, just eating and where your body is just kind of continuing. That's why I feel like the cells are like taking in. Say it again.
Well, the cells do not crave what they once craved. The way you are nourishing your body is it's up leveled because your cells are telling you what they need and what they want. And also, Kelly, what you did with me was also a parasite cleanse. And oftentimes the parasites are telling you what you should go and eat. They're like, oh no, go and have that body. Go and have that ice cream. Go and have, those French fries. Like, girl, you're not going to believe this, but I don't do French fries anymore. And I love French fries, but actually French fries, when you fry oil like that, there's a cancer-causing chemical that is created. And I won't do that to myself anymore. Like, don't get me wrong, I love potatoes. Yeah. I roast potatoes. Yeah. But I do, with a teeny little bit of olive oil. But I won't do French fries anymore. It's not how I don't want to nourish myself like that anymore, And for some of your listeners, they might be like, oh boy, what, really? I got to let go of French fries? It's like, no, sister, you don't need to let go of anything. You just do you. Yeah. But each time you're eating a fry, you might go, I wonder what that cancer-causing, chemical is that woman was talking about. So it's just like, it's food for thought, it's just, we get information with anything in life, right? We get information and then we go, how does that sit with me? Does that resonate? Does that ring true for me? And then we get to make a determination or a choice based on that information, right? So it's like, I don't want people just doing it because I'm saying so. Yeah. It's like, no, defer to your own inner authority. Does this feel right to you? And if it feels right to you to make a different choice, then so be it.
Wow. Yeah. And everyone's motivation is different. Like, I've had, clients and I go, it's fine. You ate a chocolate, you ate some salami. It's like, You're good, but like, what do you, what next what would serve you, and what does that look like? And I always usually tell them, go to your nutrition person, your naturopath. They'll keep you schooled in that. But I am even feeling like taking it into the food level again. Like we see it all over social media. Everything's about food. And I remember, what was I going to say? No, there's so many things I want to say. I'll swing back to the French fries. I was like you. I loved French fries, and I thought I would never stop eating them. And then but I did, and it's not a big deal. But what I do now is I make medical medium French fries because I have the air fryer, which is the most brilliant thing to own.
Yep.
They taste incredible. I'm like, it satiates that. But the oils, it's interesting. Now that I've gave up on so many oils, now if I were to have it, it's actually too much for me. If something has too much of an oil, and so, I have kids and we go out somewhere, but I'm so trying to not eat out because I don't trust any place unless it's Erewhon. Like I don't. I really don't. It's very tricky.
Yeah. I agree with you completely because most restaurants use canola oil, which we know is very toxic.
Yes.
Very toxic. So. I love what the medical medium teaches around oil because most people have no clue. I didn't. I had no idea.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't either.
No.
But I was saying everybody's motivation is different, and some people, they're not sure of the motivation. Like the addiction is really the powerful piece. And I know for me, in my mind, in my world, I was like in pain. And I was like, I can't be wobbling with hip pain at my young age. What's going to happen in 10 years? And as you talk about the parasites leaving, or I was going into the pathogens, like how much pathogens and neurotoxins are in my body to create this level. And it was very emotional. There was a lot of emotion in that. And so I go, what if I starve? What if I starve the viruses? Where will they go? What will they do? And feed them herbs. Well, guess what? The pain is like practically gone. I do have stuff still a little bit in that left side, but it's like, this is like very miraculous. And I'm like, whoa. And I'm excited to continue to water detox and do different things and to, but again, it doesn't feel like a deprivation at all. And I think that's what you said, you get to that clean level and then it just feels like self-love.
Exactly. This is what it all comes down to me completely. Yeah. And so even, with the water fasting, when I was in Costa Rica and I did that very long water fast, 21 days, what I learned was I didn't have to be afraid that I wasn't feeding my body food every day because so many people were afraid for me. And just because they don't understand. But when you think about our ancestors, it's like they went for weeks without food and they lived, until they caught the big, whatever they were hunting, and then they got it, But what I learned when I was in Costa Rica, like he gave lectures every single morning, and I learned that my body is very well equipped to nourish itself without food for 21 days or longer. Many people were fasting there for much longer than me, Kelly. And because I had a lot of reserves going in. Like I So I lost 25 pounds while I was there. I could have lost another 25 pounds, and I would have still been okay. I mean, I would have been a little more slender than you're used to seeing me, but I wouldn't have become, I wouldn't have become starved because it's amazing to see, what the body can live without in terms of the reserves and still be healthy. So it's just been fascinating, the journey and the education around and really what the miracle of the body. And so, and I think that has come to me over time. I was working with a health coach when I got the cancer diagnosis 2 years ago. And she goes, Steph, even if it is cancer, she goes, I've got you. And she started helping me to understand why the body creates cancer. And there was a problem with my lymphatic system. The lymph system carries out the trash. The blood is the kitchen. The lymph is the trash. And when the lymph can't carry out the trash, it'll put it places. So the lymph started putting the trash into the fatty tissue of the breast. And so creating transforming the terrain of my body that is what I knew I needed to do to heal the cancer. And that is what I've done. So I'm happy if, you know this, Kelly, but everybody else is listening, like, I'm happy to tell you that there's no further metastasis, the tumors are shrinking, and I'm living a vital, healthy life. Like, I feel really blessed, you know, that I listen to myself, you know?
And I love your saying that you have. I feel like this is Stephanie's saying. You have a lot of sayings, but this I don't know if you even knew this. Like, when I hear you always say, "I'm God's girl. I'm a God's girl." That's like your thing, right? Yeah. So it's like, you know, you have a lot of quotes. We need to, like, put your quotes out there and sell them. You know, maybe some other people have said that, but yeah, just I love this conversation. We're coming up to the end, and I want to hear, you know, ways that people can connect with just all this wisdom and this sacred work, this nutrition, this healing on so many levels. Your website or any upcoming events that are coming up.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I do have a website. It is StephanieDawn.com, and Stephanie, StephanieDawn.com, just like my name. And folks can go there, and there's a form on there, and you can just, like, drop in and share with me what's going on with you. And then from that, once you submit that form, I'll get an email, and then I'll reach out. And so there is an event coming up, actually. I'm really glad you mentioned that. I'm doing a fertility event on June 16th at 12:30 Pacific Standard for women who are on the fertility path and want to hear more from women who were on the fertility path and then detox their body and then conceived. So I'm curating that right now. I'm talking to many women right now to hear their stories. And to learn more about that, Kelly, gosh, you kind of got to find me on Facebook for that one. or you can just message me. Or they can just message me on my and say, Stephanie, I want to come to that event from my website. They can do that as well. I have a contact form. And
that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest way, Kelly. You can certainly find me, follow me on Facebook, Stephanie Dawn as well. Radiant Living Priestess, that's what I'm calling myself these days. Just really, you know, holding the light for women to know how magnificent they are and to really support them in being all that they're here to be. And, yeah, that's my work.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for being here and sharing in all this goodness and healing insight. And I love that people can reach out and they can find you. I feel like you're a superstar. You're, like, bringing in so much continued current insights and wisdoms and just ways to heal more consciously, globally, with physical, emotional, and spiritual connections. Thank you so much for being here.
You're so welcome. Goddess bless you, Kelly, for the work that you do and for all the lives that you're helping and supporting with your voice and your gifts. Just sending you so much love and light, girl.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining episode 116. If you like this podcast or all my podcasts, please subscribe, leave reviews. And as always, check out, I have a journal. It's called Sacred Communication, a Spirit Baby journal, and my Spirit Baby Oracle cards, answers from Spirit Baby, and more to come and learn.
This is Spirit Baby Radio. Thank you for joining Kelly in the energy of awareness, love, healing, and soul communication. Please join the next episode at www.soulbabycommunication.com.